Welcome back to the Deep Digger Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to drop some comments below. And more importantly, be sure to subscribe, buddy.
And we are inching closer and closer to the NFL playoffs. The picture is coming into frame. We just watched a crazy Monday night game with the Browns and the Broncos. Jameis Winston going off for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. But Bo Nix, who I was hyping up all last week, gets the win 41-32. I mean, did that just I know Bo Nix threw 2 picks, but he just went against a hot Cleveland team and put up 41.
A hot Cleveland. They have 3 wins, bro. Let's chill out there. A hot Cleveland team. Let's relax. But
Jameis putting up 460 and 4 tugs.
honestly, Jerry Jeudy went off. It was crazy. But this was a fun Monday night game. I know people were trying to flex it out and they blocked it being flexed out because I believe what was this? The Simpsons cast, right? Or was that this week?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I think they tried to flex it out. They blocked it. They said no, and we got a fun game. Honestly, this was one that I really enjoyed, and I was thinking about I don't know if I need to watch this. No, both teams said fuck it, let's ball, and they went for it. Yeah, Bo Nix had 2 picks, but he looked impressive. Jameis Winston was throwing it all over the field. Jerry Jeudy was having his way with his old team. The Broncos defense stepped up and scored a touchdown and actually sealed the deal at the end. What a fun game for two teams that one of which, I mean, realistically, what are the Browns really playing for? Just kind of for pride, but the Denver Broncos proving that they're trying to prove that they are a legit contender. And this was just a fun game, a weird game, but a fun game.
Yeah, and I know I'm hyping up Bo Nix in this game. 2 pick-sixes for the Denver defense, who looks solid. I know they were trying to figure it out in the secondary, but McMillan had a great game for them. He seals the deal with that touchdown in the fourth. Marvin Mims is turning to a guy for Denver, which I think people are forgetting Denzel Mims, his brother, had some potential with the Jets. Now Marvin Mims, a little bit faster. This guy, he's a deep threat for sure. 90-yard touchdown today.
Yeah, I mean, and him paired with Cortland Sutton, I think them just getting rid of Jerry Jeudy and taking away we have 3 guys with all similar skill sets that we have to kind of feed the ball. And now you just hone in on these 2, Cortland Sutton you got me saying Denzel Mims, Marvin Mims. You get 2 guys now that, all right, we're just going to feed them. We don't have to prioritize a third person in the rotation. I think that's really helping out with this Denver offense.
And can we put to bed that Jameis is a fun quarterback to watch, but he's not like a franchise guy. He's a bridge quarterback, I think. He's an amazing top tier backup quarterback, I think. But you're going to get moments like this where you're taking the good, but you're also taking the bad, where he's going to throw terrible picks.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jameis. I think that you're 100% right, though. He is one of the, if you're ranking quarterbacks, he's going to be in the 28 to 36 range of rankings. He's going to have some times where he looks above that, 5 notches above that. He's going to have some games where he looks 5 notches below that. I don't think he's a consistent starter in this league, but if you have him as your backup, you feel confident in him going out and giving you a 3-game stint. And realistically, if you lose your starting quarterback for more than 3 games, more than likely you're fucked anyways.
Yeah, and they have a whole Deshaun Watson contract to worry about before they can even think of re-signing Jameis Winston and bringing him back as their quarterback for next year. I do think he would give them a shot at making a playoff spot next season, just because he's going to know the offense. He's going to be a guy that has a lot of experience, but they have to figure out the money situation first.
Yeah, and I mean, they mentioned this on the broadcast as well. They were saying there's so many guys that are on the hot seat in the head coaching spot, but realistically, Kevin Stefanski is a really good coach. And I think that Jameis would benefit from being under Stefanski another year. I think Stefanski would love to have him rather than Deshaun, but you're right. They have to figure out what the contract looks like from the Deshaun end first, because I mean, you can't be paying 2 guys starter money. You just can't. And so, especially with what you're paying Deshaun. And so I think that's the first step for this offseason. How can we get this guy to take a pay cut, or can we get him off of our books completely? Can we find someone to get a trading going? Can we do something where we get this off of our books so we can move forward as a franchise? I mean, again, you did this to yourself. You did a deal with the devil. Now you have to pay the toll. And this is your toll. You're going to be in cap hell for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and I want to move on to a team that's already thinking about this coming off season and maybe doing 1, 2, 3 Cancun is the 49ers getting just smacked around by the Bills. I know we've seen it coming. I don't know why people were thinking, oh, we're going to go all the way into the snow and beat the Bills when the Niners have not been consistent at all this year. And I want to say quickly, too, I think people are 49ers fans are very quick to flip between hyperbole on this team to where, oh my God, yeah, Kyle Shanahan's amazing, McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and now very quickly it turns to fire Kyle, Brock Purdy's not a franchise guy, oh, cut Debo, all the hyperbolic opinions. Like I think it's crazy to be thinking fire Kyle Shanahan and like look at a different quarterback this offseason. What do you think?
I don't think it's crazy. You're going to have a top 10 pick. I don't think it's crazy to be like, hey, let's rule out completely looking at another quarterback. I don't think that's off the table. I think that is something that they're going to have to do, especially depending on where they get slotted as far as their draft pick. I don't think it's completely insane to go after like, hey, if we have a chance to go get Shador, I don't think they're going to be able to get Shador. If they have a chance to go out and get Cam Ward, I don't think they'll be able to. But if one of them does fall, you might take a look at it. You know what I mean? Hey, you got to do your due diligence.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really know some of the names that people are throwing around. Have you seen any other quarterbacks that people were like, oh, maybe we look at him instead of Brock Purdy?
I seen one list. It was like here's the 49ers needs this offseason. It was like offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, possibly. So there's a lot of holes in this team. I think realistically, this is at the impasse where they've paid a lot of players. They are making top tier money. And we just saw like a fullback that was getting paid number one money just fumble at the goal line. We just saw we have a tight end that gets paid tight end one money that doesn't play consistently. We have Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk's not playing. Debo Samuel is out of shape and just not the same caliber of player that he was last year. So, like, you're going to have to reshuffle the deck here, and you're going to have to see who, like, you're going to have to really make priority of who's going to stay and who's going to go moving forward. And I know that everyone says they love every player, but, like, realistically, you just have too many guys making too much money. You're going to have to move some guys around, especially if you're going to pay Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I think people are forgetting how we got Bosa, where it was like some good seasons and then injuries, terrible season, fall apart. We get a high draft pick and get Bosa, and then it turns completely back around. And this is just one of those years. If you look at the offseason now in hindsight, you're like, they didn't improve in a single position in this offseason. They literally said, let's catch lightning in a bottle with the health of this team. Let's try to do the same thing and repeat exactly what we did, but maybe we get lucky this time. And that's just not the NFL, where you every season are going to be lucky with the health. And it's falling apart with these injuries for sure.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing now the injuries are piling up even more. Trent Williams is out for the foreseeable future. Christian McCaffrey is out for the next at least 4 weeks. I would expect it to be the rest of the season. Jordan Mason is going to be out for at least 4 weeks. I would expect it to be the rest of the season. I would put Fred Warner. I'd be like, hey, I love that you're toughing it out. You have a broken ankle. Let's go ahead and sit down. Dre Greenlaw just got activated. Hey, love to see you practice. Don't want to see you on the field. Let's just go ahead and sit down. I think we're going to start to see all of these pieces just like, hey, we're not making it.
Practice window is opening right now.
Let's just sit it down. Let's let some young guys play. Let's figure it out. Let's better our, like, realistically, no team wants to lose. No team wants to tank. But you take enough pieces off the field, you're not going to be able to win. And I think that's what we're going to see, because just based off of injuries, not because like, oh, we're manifesting this top 10 draft pick, but if it happens, it happens.
And do you think there's any validity to the getting rid of Kyle Shanahan at this point?
No, but I think Kyle Shanahan should be like held accountable for the things that he's done. I think realistically, he's made some poor decisions. One, with the defensive coordinator spot, we've seen it massively like a step back, not improving on that defense. We've seen that he just consistently does not care about special teams, and that comes back to bite us constantly. So I think it is fair for him to be like, hey, like you are high, you're thought of as one of the like top 5 coach in this league. You should be held to that standard. I think that's fair to criticize him.
And his offensive play calling has taken a huge step back this season.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be his thing, his main thing. And I think that's what also has hurt Brock Purdy's performance. Not just like that they don't have an offensive line, that they keep losing offensive weapons throughout the season, but also Shanahan has not put him in a good spot with, I don't know why he's calling the games a certain way, or kind of sometimes it's ego, feels like ego sticking to a game plan that's not working, that's worked for him in the past. And then there's calling deep balls where Brock Purdy can't get the ball out quickly and with the bad offensive line. So it's I don't think either of them has done well this season at all, like Shanahan or Purdy, but Purdy has definitely not been put in the best situation to thrive.
But also, that's where you start to see like he doesn't have the intangibles of another quarterback. He doesn't have the speed to really burst out of a Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the arm strength of a Josh Allen. You're starting to see that when you're behind a bad O line. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's not put in the best position, but also he can't overcome the box that he's in right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna have to revamp this whole roster and figure it out. But
They're going to have to fire their defensive coordinator too. It is not working out with Sorensen and Staley back there.
no. And I seen someone throwing around Jeff Ulbricht's name possibly.
Go out
So
and get
we'll see.
Saleh again. Get the band back together. Let's do that.
So I want to talk now a little bit about the Kansas City refs. I mean, the
Oh.
Kansas City Chiefs, because a lot of we talked about this earlier in the year where it's like getting kind of tired of the Chiefs winning on questionable calls by the refs, and this one was just kind of blatant in front of everyone watching on a day where there's no other NFL games. I did see the ref up top signal and blow his whistle that it was a false start, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
at first they were
should've
saying
been-
like he
yeah.
blew it dead, but then they're like, oh, no, it wasn't.
So I don't know. I was happy because it hit a last leg of a parlay for me that the Chiefs won, but also it's kind of like really helping these guys be the first team to clinch a playoff spot. And hey, the Raiders battled in that game. They put up way more fight than I thought they were gonna do with Aiden O'Connell. He looks like he's settled in to being a pro right now. Tight end, he's looking great.
Brock
Rookie of
Bowers.
the year. Brock Bowers, maybe looking like rookie of the year over there. Well, a candidate. But yeah, what did you think about the call?
Brock Bowers looks like the rookie and the vet. I mean, he looks like a grown ass man. He is
Someone
crazy.
said he looks like a retired NHL player came back to try to win a Stanley Cup.
Yo, but he's good. I mean, I understand why they did it. I know a lot of people were like scratching their head at that draft pick because they just drafted a tight end last draft, but Brock Bowers is that good. He was that good. He should have went even higher in that draft. So kudos to the Raiders for actually just being like, hey, you know what? I know we drafted a guy, but fuck it, let's draft another one. So kudos to them on that.
Really quick, is this like the year of the white guys in the NFL right now? Because Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, the Eagles secondary, like
The crackerback.
these guys are really stepping up this season.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. Hey, they're doing it. But I think, like, realistically, this was a game. This was the Raiders Super Bowl. Antonio Pierce, I don't know if you've seen his quote before the game. He said, this is a game that I think no one is going to forget about. This is what people think is the best team in the league and the worst team in the league. Let's see who's really that. No, it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? You just called your team the worst team in the league. Like, Doug.
Are they really the worst? I don't know if I'd put them the worst.
Who'd you put below them?
The fucking Jets.
The goddamn Jets.
No, the Giants have to be the worst team in the league. By far.
Oh, God. The Panthers are sitting there like, it's not us.
Panthers. We'll talk about the Panthers in a little while, but Panthers actually look like they're one of the middle of the pack teams now. Like they've climbed a whole echelon.
They went to mid, baby. But yeah, no, kudos to the Raiders. Again, this was their Super Bowl. This was what they were going to lay their hat on for the rest of the season. They put up a good effort. It does suck that it ends in a questionable fashion with the refs, but hey, so much shit. Again, I don't care realistically. This one was, and as someone who's like, hey, constantly, I don't give a shit about the refs. Like, you had a whole game to figure out what you were going to do. You had a whole game to go out there and win it. It shouldn't come down to one play. That was pretty that was pretty crazy. That was a pretty crazy play. But you had your chance throughout the whole game. There was missed calls. There was on both sides. You got to figure it out. If you're going to win, if you're going to beat the champ, you have to go out and take it. And the Raiders just didn't do that at that point. And so, hey, moral victory. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back. Hey, we'll build on this and we'll make forward and move forward to next season.
Yeah, I get that. Kind of the boxer thing, like don't let it go to the judges' scorecards, knock them out. And I think the Chiefs too, they seem like they got up early and they did feel like they let off the gas a little bit. Like they were like, we'll settle for a lot of field goals and we know we're going to win this game. And it was like 2 deep throws by Aiden O'Connell later. You're like, holy shit, Raiders are winning this game right now.
The Chiefs suck. Like they are like a fucking bad football team. They suck, but the Raiders suck more. Like they just suck harder. They just suck longer. Like I just don't get how this Chiefs team has gone this far in the season being this bad and not improved. Like we just keep waiting for them to flip the switch and turn it on and be like, okay, a dominant team again. And they just haven't done that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possibly the worst 11-1 team we've seen.
They just don't. Nothing about them screams that they are going to go out there and kick the shit out of opponents. And every week we watch them struggle. They remind me of the NFL Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, and we see how they're doing right now. All right, well, right now they're the first team in the playoffs, so we're gonna see more of them, and maybe this is the year where Josh Allen finally breaks through. Maybe Lamar breaks through. It's not gonna be Joe Burrow. Well, we'll talk about the Bengals. Bengals, Steelers, Joe Burrow. I saw today Shannon Sharp trying to say that this was Joe Burrow's fault. The turnovers when they have no defense. They don't have an offensive line. It's literally just Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase out there trying to make magic happen. And a Steelers team whose offense is like, it's gotten better this year with Russell Wilson, but it's pretty reserved. Putting up 44 points against this Bengals team is crazy.
This Steelers offense has been really improved since Russell Wilson has stepped in there. I know they had that game where they won with all field goals, but besides that, they've actually looked really good. So I will give the Bengals that credit. Like, hey, this isn't a cupcake team. This isn't the Big Ben, like where on the latter half of his career where he can't really throw. This is a team that's actually really good, and they will put up points on you. And if you're a bad team, Bengals, you are a bad team. Like you are a bad team. You've constructed this roster in a way that it is so top heavy that you do, if you are Jamar Chase and you are Joe Burrow, you have to put up unworldly, godly numbers every single week in order to just maybe get a win.
Yeah, it's like everything has to go their way. Joe Burrow has to be perfect for them to have a chance. Because then they were down, I think, 10. Joe Burrow driving with a lot of time left. And then it's like interception. Okay. Finally, they force a field goal, not a touchdown for one of the only times in the game. And then Joe Burrow strip sack, there's a touchdown. And it's one of those things where you put your team in such a hole, but then you get close enough to where you're like, well, listen, we barely lost that game. A couple things went our way, blah blah blah. When it's like, no, your team was fucking awful, but your quarterback and your receiver is so good, like they're gonna put up points. But at the game was over by that point.
The Bengals are very NBA-ish. Like we see that a lot in the NBA, where a team will get up and in the like back half of the third quarter, you start to see the team let off the gas, and the other team is the team that's behind, like tries as hard as they can to scrape by. It ends up being a 5-point loss, and it's like, hey, yeah, that was good. And if you're box score watching, it's like, dang, they put up a really good fight. And it's like, no, at no point was this ever a game that was in contention.
Yeah, I kept thinking. It's funny you brought that up because I was like, this is like Mike D'Antoni's Rockets, where it's like we'll just let them score and we'll score faster. Like
Yeah.
just hurry up, let them score. We're not playing defense, just score and then we'll go score. And that's what this Bengals team feels like this season. But I mean, you can't win that way, and especially like if the mistakes they're making with turnovers, and then if you're not cashing in touchdowns every time, you're like trading threes for twos, and you're just never gonna make that difference up.
Yeah, and I just don't think that they have the horses to do it this year. I think that they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do roster wise, because so much is allocated to the offensive side of the ball. You're going to have to figure out a way to finagle the cap, like do some deferred payments, go trade for guys, get more draft picks, strictly draft on the defensive side of the ball, because that defense is so depleted. Me and you are out there pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's actually leads to like a bigger conversation we touched on before, but like how many of these teams who are giving out these massive contracts to quarterbacks are just not good anymore? Like you have the Bengals with Joe Burrow, they've obviously fallen off. Uh what the Jaguars paying Trevor Lawrence, they're not a good team this year. The Dolphins are out of it with Tua. You can even say the Cowboys with Dak are not good anymore.
The
Like
Giants.
yeah, the Giants paying Daniel Jones. Like, how many teams who have paid their quarterbacks have actually been like, "Oh, I'm so glad we gave this guy $250 million."
It's Mahomes and it's Josh Allen and Lamar.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. I mean, okay. One guy that is trending towards it being very okay, Kyler Murray. Like that is probably the redemption arc. Like he should win comeback player of the year. He just came back from like Call of Duty. Like he is doing really good this season, and I think that the Cardinals are like we should be patting ourselves on the back. We bet on this guy, and it's working out for us.
Yeah, they did lose that game. I thought, well, let's just talk about the Cardinals. They lost to the Vikings in the last minute of that game. Couldn't come back and hit a field goal to win it. But they had the ball up 3 with about what, 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
I thought they should have just went for it. 4 down territory. Let's get a touchdown here, or let's just touchdown or nothing. We're gonna win this game right now. They play conservative, hit the field goal to go up 6, and then end up losing by 1. I think that's the wrong decision. You're a team that's kind of middle of the pack, fighting for this division. Like you need to get this win when you're that close.
Also, though, to be like devil's advocate, Gannon is a defensive guy. He's going to be like, all right, well, you know what? Like, we're going to take the points and then we're going to do like what we do. And that is, we are going to stop you. And he bet all of it on his guys and they just couldn't get it done. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Like, I know there's certain scenarios where I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing here? You're the favorite. You should go out there and just, go for broke. But realistically, I like that. He took the points. You have to score a touchdown against us. A field goal doesn't do it anymore. I will bet on my defense. And I think that shows like Gannon will bet on his guys 100% of the time. Yeah, it didn't work out, but he can still point to that later in the season and be like, guys, I fucking believe in you. Please, like, reward me on this. Like, let's go out there and get a stop when we need to.
I just think next season let's rely on the defense because the roster is not set up right now to be like, oh yeah, let's rely on this defense. Like they don't have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And on the other end, the Vikings are 10-2 right now. If I think them losing those 2 games really quieted the talk about the Vikings. Like I haven't really heard anyone be like, oh, are they real or what's going on? Like kind of crickets about the Vikings right now. Sam Darnold, who started hot, is kind of like, I mean, he's having a good year, but it's not like crazy. It's 67 what is it? 67% completion rating, 2900 yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 picks. So, I mean, not like MVP blow the stats off the page kind of thing, but he's playing really good. So, I don't know how real this Vikings team is though when they're in like a tough game with this Cardinals team.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. I did see rumblings online of like early on, like, should we get can't wait for Daniel Jones to start playing for the Vikings. And it's like, yo, let's pump the brakes on that. I think Sam Darnold is much better than Daniel Jones. I like the move though, just in case stuff happens, because we have seen Sam Darnold get hurt or like weird, funky situations. So I think if you're the Vikings, you're like, hey, we're not even going to take that chance. We're just going to put all our eggs into this year's basket, and we're going to go out there and try to get a playoff victory and keep moving forward. So I like the move to go out and get Daniel Jones. Do I think that Daniel Jones is going to be a world beater? No. Do I think that even Sam Darnold is going to be a world beater? No. I think that realistically, they need to get the ball more. And I know Justin Jefferson is a big team guy, and he's like, hey, if I'm not eating, I know it's somebody else eating. I think you got to get the ball to your best fucking player. Like, I think they got to get him more involved in the coming weeks moving forward and start to figure that out for the playoffs, because realistically, that's what wins games in the playoffs. Your best player win you games. You can't take this like, oh, it's a team approach. Yeah, you can to a certain extent, but then after that, you have to go out there and your star players need to play like star players.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold was just throwing it up to him early in the season. It was working out for him. So, I mean, literally just, hey, he's down there somewhere. He's most likely going to get it or get a flag. So, yeah, Sam Darnold needs to take some more risk. It's kind of crazy if you look at his game stats throughout the season. He's like almost guaranteed to do 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's like his regular thing. So, the Jets have found a way to blow another lead and lose to the Seahawks this week. They got it. I think you were saying Aaron Rodgers is not coming back next season. I think they got to cut him already and just let him start his free agency journey now. Get ahead of the narrative, because everyone's gonna be like, "Well, is Aaron coming back? What do you guys do?" Like, just let him go. Do the Daniel Jones thing. He'll go figure out what he wants to do for the next season. Or do you think if you cut him now, someone picks him up and is like, "Oh, maybe Aaron Rodgers leads our team this year, despite how he's looked."
I don't know who would be like, yeah, you're like, we've seen the tape on Aaron Rodgers this year. We think he could go out and win us a Super Bowl right now. Like, let's go ahead and do it. Like, what team do you think is going to do that? No, I think we're cut bait on him. I think you sit him down and you're like, what happened to I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. There was reports that Woody Johnson came down and was like, hey, we need to sit him. And the coaching staff pushed back and were like, no, it'll get better. It's not getting better. Like, if I'm Woody Johnson, I'm going back down again. And I'm like, yo, sit him now. What are we doing, dude? Let Tyrod go out there and take it over. That's our quarterback for the rest of the year. We're not risking Aaron Rodgers getting hurt and like us costing us money. We're not going to do this song and dance. We're not going to get like Aaron Rodgers to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. Let's just cut bait with him right now. He could be a coach, a coordinator, or whatever he wants to do while he's on the sideline, but we are not rolling him out there on the field. I think it's ridiculous.
And it's ridiculous how much they've let him kind of call the shots there with getting all his friends, cutting the coaches, and now there's no leadership there. It's someone was like, it's I love how it's Aaron Rodgers and his friends just vibing each and they're like and getting L's. So I mean, at least you can't really say that the Gents did anything wrong for him. Where it's like, hey, we gave you one of your last seasons of your career with all your buddies. Like you guys are gonna talk about this locker room and like how you guys got to hang out long after you retire. I don't think it'd be any disservice to him to be like, listen, the second this season is over, we don't want you back in this building at all. Just get away. But then what do you do with Devontae? I guess he's not coming back either. And like all these Aaron Rodgers friends that you have in the locker room right now.
Alan Lazard, see ya, buddy. But yeah, I think like sit him for the rest of this year. Devontae, I'm pretty sure Devontae is under contract, so it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? And then Hassan Reddick there's like, sit out, sit out. They'll give in. So, yeah, I think the Jets are in a tough place for this season. But realistically, you get your first. You should be recruiting coaches right now. If I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the landscape and like Belichick or Vrabel, come here. I know Belichick hates the Jets, but like we'll pay you a boatload of money to come here. We'll like pay you to go out there and beat the Patriots who cast you off. Like we will do anything for you to come in this building and reshape this organization. I would do that to Vrabel. I would do it for Ben Johnson. I would go out there and I'd start recruiting ASAP because you know that's where you're headed. You get first dibs. I would be tampering right now.
Maybe Robert Saleh could come back.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's the guy. He's been the guy all along.
No, I mean, realistically, Robert Saleh, the 49ers should do everything in their power to get Robert Saleh back because it's not like Robert Saleh had a short stint with the New York Jets. Yeah, it sucks that it was cut short by the Aaron Rodgers era, but ultimately, Robert Saleh was a loser before that. Robert Saleh did not do anything. So it's like, I don't see Robert Saleh getting another head coaching job in this NFL for the foreseeable future. 49ers, you should be all over that. Hey, you know what? You're familiar with us. You know you thrive in this scenario. Come and be our DC for the long haul. We got you.
Yeah, but he's doing good in Green Bay, apparently, helping out with the offense on that side of the ball. So maybe he just has a spot locked up in Green Bay, which is like very heavily influenced from Shanahan's staff.
Yeah, weren't they best men at each other's weddings?
I don't know. I don't know
I'm pretty sure.
lore, but they're all from Washington, so
Yeah. So I think that, and then from the Jet side, you just got to start figuring out, okay, we had players that we felt good about and it hasn't worked out. Who's going to be on this roster moving forward? Who wants a job? That's like what I would just start focusing on. And realistically, it does kind of suck because none of the guys evaluating them right now are going to be in that building moving forward.
Like, hey, make sure you leave those reports on your way out.
So, oh yeah, cool.
And I seen Florio with the take that possibly Aaron Rodgers and Belichick are gonna find a landing spot together in New York for the Giants, and try to stay in New York, stay around his buddies, and get something going with the coach.
I could see Belichick fucking hating Aaron Rodgers. I could see that being so bad. Like realistically, I know that Aaron Rodgers would respect Bill Belichick, but Aaron Rodgers is so stuck in his own ways that I don't think that he would eat shit for Bill Belichick, where Tom Brady was eating shit for Belichick. Tom Brady would sit there and take it. He would be like degraded and he would be like talked down to. But because ultimately that was for the betterment of the team, I don't see Aaron Rodgers doing that. I don't see Aaron Rodgers being like, yeah, I'll take it. Like, you're going to treat me like everyone else. No, I don't see that from Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, maybe in his final year he'll change. Maybe next year's the year that Aaron Rodgers will change. He goes into a darkness retreat and he realizes maybe I'm the problem. If you're looking around in the Jets organization, everyone else is the problem. Maybe point that finger right back at yourself, buddy. Maybe you're the problem. Some self-reflection right there for 2025.
He said, good thing I can't see who's pointing at me because I'm in the
No, he's like trying to point a finger in the darkness retreat and they turn the lights on. He's like, what?
Whoa. That's great. I'm too high for this right now.
The Drewski meme where he's like, me? Well, that's all we have for this episode of NFL, where we talk NFL ball. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to see you next time.
Later.